Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Angela Jean, and I'm the founder and president of YouthSTEM, which is a national high school student organization dedicated to promoting STEM among youth. If you have any questions at any time, please type them into the chat or ask them directly after each presentation. Now I'll turn the stage over to Joanna from Brown University.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna. I'm a freshman at Brown, and thank you for tuning in today. I know from personal experience that the pressure of college applications can sometimes feel really overwhelming, especially with that uncertainty in what feels like a large determining factor in your life. But today, I'd just like to share a bit about my own experience, and I hope it might help you as you navigate preparing for your own college journey. And so, for context, I've been involved in Youth STEM since my sophomore year, I believe, and I applied to colleges last year as a chemistry major. So, starting off with my academics, I honestly went to a really small school, so there wasn't a huge amount of classes offered or flexibility, but I took some diverse courses that challenged me. So, like, for example, some of my classes were AP Lit, Inlang, A-Push, AP Spanish Language, in addition to like the STEM APs like Bio, Chem, Physics, and Calc. And I focused on keeping a well-rounded balance between the humanities, social sciences, and STEM-related courses. And throughout high school, I, of course, focused on keeping my grades up and making that a priority. So, freshman year, which was largely online for me because of COVID, I didn't really know what I was going to major in, although I did know it was going to be something in STEM. But I took general chemistry my sophomore year, and I really liked it. And so I took AP chemistry at school and then a college credit organic chemistry class junior year. And then I did some research in a chemical engineering lab this summer before senior year. And I feel like each of these experiences really built upon my interest in chem. Like, I feel like the Orgo class was a turning point where I realized that maybe I do actually enjoy the various sides of chemistry. And the research certainly helped me apply what I was learning in a hands-on way, which was cool. And so, some of my advice about academics is to explore early on and find what you're passionate about and help that inform your decision of what major you want to apply to. Although, once you actually get to college, you typically aren't restricted to the major that you applied with. And, the ease of changing your major varies from school to school. And so, that could also be another important factor in your college decision if you're not 100% sure about your major or want to explore different areas like I did. And next, in terms of my activities, so during the school year, I got involved in volunteering and some leadership at my school. So some of the most meaningful things that I did were being a chief science officer, helping promote STEM at my school, like leading or teaching ELISA, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay labs and blood labs for fifth and sixth grade students. I was also the president of National Honor Society, where I organized events, treasurer of our class, where I manage things like the prices and profits for the annual Valentine's Day sale, and co-editor in chief of the literary magazine, where we made the annual magazine and also held quarterly open mic nights. But my biggest activity was probably science fair, since I've been doing that competitively since sixth grade. So, for example, my last project was in junior year, and I explored the link between visual impairment and susceptibility to an ischemia reperfusion injury. And I've also gotten involved in research by writing a review article, and I also did the Congressional App Challenge 2 years ago for that stress scope. And during the summer, I took some college credit courses, like I also did one for bio, and I also did more on research and volunteering, which I had a little bit more difficulty doing during the school year. And I also took the ACT the summer before junior year since I didn't want to be stressed or pressed for time later. And it's actually a pretty funny story because I wasn't sure if I was going to be ready for it. And I decided at the very last minute to like take it as a standby. But it ended up working out since I got the score I wanted and I didn't have to do it again. So if you're ready for it early, I do recommend taking it sooner since you don't have to have that like burden hanging over you. And at least for me, I could better focus on other things during the school year. And so, my overall advice for extracurriculars is to pursue activities you really like and help you learn. And although it can be helpful to try many things during freshman year or sophomore year, eventually you should focus on what you enjoy most and find the most fulfilling, whether it's something that you originally considered or if it's something new. Like for me, my work with the Literary Magazine Club was sort of unexpected since my strength's definitely in STEM, but the club really helped me find my voice and learn communication and organizational skills. And, everyone has their unique talents and interests, and I think the extracurriculars you do reflects that. And so that was all about me during the years, but I also wanted to transition to some general advice I had about the college application process. So first is the importance of your essays. So you probably heard this a lot of times, but they're definitely important and help you bring character and personality to the list of accomplishments and awards. And I remember it took a while for me to precisely find what I wanted to convey and write everything within the word limit. And for that reason, I do advise heavily against procrastination. Like save yourself the stress and work on it early. And each university also looks for something different in their student body, and so you should tailor your YS essay to reflect that. And I found in my own applications, they were basically completely different for each school. So make sure you do your research on the school, both confirming that this is somewhere that you want to be for the next 4 years, and also finding material for the essays. Although I will say that there are some supplemental essays that are commonly asked, like a passion project or a hobby. And for these, it's really satisfying to just be able to essentially copy and paste essays, or at least have like a set idea that you have, and you just have to adjust it to the word limit. And next, in terms of selecting colleges, at first, I admit originally thinking about colleges based solely off of like national rankings, but as the process went on, I realized that they aren't really perfect indicators. And what really matters is finding a school where you can be at your best, like where you feel supported, motivated, and have the resources to grow, explore, and succeed. For most people, that's multiple places, and I'm thrilled to be at Brown, which was my dream school, but I know I would have been happy at many other universities too. And so when you're making your college list, it's important to visit colleges in person if you can, talk to students, and explore the surroundings to get a better sense of each school. You'll be able to feel like personally which schools are good fits. And that's not always possible through like online research. And sometimes it does take a few more visits to figure things out clearly. And in terms of the number of schools you apply to, it does depend on the person. I know people who applied to like five, and I also know people who applied to over 20. And so, like for example, in Texas, which is where I'm from, there's a rule where the top 5% of high school students get automatic admission to UT Austin. And so that's an example of how like the number of applications will differ by person. Although my classmates did typically apply to like three reach schools, three target schools, three safety schools. And also, if you're waitlisted at a school you're passionate about, it's really important to keep showing interest and send follow-up letters that express your continued enthusiasm. So, like, I know someone who was writing 17 letters of continued interest and they ended up getting into their college. And throughout the whole process, though, there's always going to be the waiting game. And there's always going to be like the period where you've done everything you can and you're waiting, like for the interview notifications or for decisions. And I think it's really important to just continue looking out for your emotional well-being, like take breaks and have fun, and realize that life ultimately revolves more around than just the college you go to. And so, yeah, overall, the college application process is really stressful, but it's also a journey of self-discovery and reflection. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joanna. Okay. Um, and so we'll move on now to academics. And so, okay. And so academics is definitely a very large part throughout high school and for college. So I'll be covering what you need to do in high school or, what you can get involved in within your high school to have better chances and, to learn as much as you can while you are in high school. So I'll be covering AP exams, dual enrollment courses, one I haven't listed here, but concurrent enrollment and standardized testing, which is SAT, ACT, PSAT, and the practice ACT. So AP exams are college level courses that are offered in high schools across the United States and also internationally. There are 39 AP courses as of right now. The number of APs offered in your high school probably varies, depending on your school, your state, your school district, the number of teachers. So what these, AP courses do is they teach you college level things, and then at the end of the year in May, you take a test that tests you on your knowledge of what you learned throughout the year. And then you get a score measured from 1 through 5, with 3 and above being a passing grade. And so most colleges accept credits, you know, will allow you to turn these AP scores of 3 or above into college credits. However, at more competitive schools, they might not even accept AP credits at all, or you might need to score a 4 or 5. However, even if your college does not accept AP credits, still take these, as this will allow you to get more familiarized with the harder level courses that are seen in college. So these are some examples of APs. Some popular ones include AP Biology, AP English Language, AP US History. Uh, and so, if you want to see the whole list, you can always go online or to AP Classroom. However, each school, as I said again, does vary. And some schools may not offer all the courses, and so please check your school to see which courses are offered. So we have dual enrollment courses, which are classes that receive both high school and college credit. And so this will both fulfill your high school graduation requirements while also gaining college credit. So one example is at some schools like Sohan's high school, he can get college credit and high school credit for taking linear algebra. Uh, one other One other program that I do want to mention is concurrent enrollment, which I did not include on these slides. But this is when you basically take college level courses through your high schools, and sometimes a college or university will pair up with your high school. And through this, you can take college level courses while still only paying, maybe $100, while, at the college level, if you are in college or at a university, this may have taken thousands of dollars. And so I do recommend these three AP classes, dual enrollment, and concurrent enrollment, as this shows colleges that you are prepared for college level classes, that you have commitment and you are hardworking. And also, it saves a lot of money, as all of these you can take for $100 and save thousands of dollars in when you're in college, as you can bypass some of the beginner courses. And then moving on, we have standardized testing. So we have the SAT, ACT, PSAT, and practice ACT, and they measure students' ability to think critically, their literacy skills, and writing skills. So first off, the SAT. This is one of the two main standardized tests that colleges look at. So for the SAT, we have a reading and writing section. So 32 minutes for the reading section and 32 minutes for the writing section. For the math, we have it split into two sections, and both of them are 35 minutes each. So the SAT is out of 1,600 points, and you can get 800 for the reading and writing. That's the maximum score, and 800 for the math section. So the SAT, the module 1 represents easy and medium questions, and then it evaluates how you did. And the module 2, it adapts based on how many questions you got right. So if you got 50% right on module one, then you may have easier questions on the second section. However, if you scored very high, then it might give you harder questions. And so it will adapt based on your accuracy in module one. And so that is also the same concept for the math section. Now, the ACT um, has a few, is a bit different than the SAT as it does include a science section. And so this is an extra section that the SAT does not contain. So the ACT is faster, and so you have less time to answer more questions. However, the questions are more straightforward and there is less text to read. The scores for the four sections, which are English, math, reading, and science, are all based are all out of a score of 36, and the max composite score is 36. And so to get your composite score, this is the average of your English, math, reading, and science score. There is a writing section, however, it will become optional as of April 2025, and also the ACT will also become shortened. Now we have the PSAT, which is out of 1,520 points. And this is basically, the same format for the SAT, except, the scoring is a bit different. The reading and writing section is only out of 760 points, and so is the math section. However, again, how well you do in the first section determines what type of questions or how hard your questions are in the second section. So the PSAT is the test that allows you to qualify for the National Merit Scholarship Program. And so if you score in the top percentile, then you are able to qualify for the National Merit Scholarship. And what this does is it provides scholarships from different colleges, universities, and organizations. They help pay for college, and it's impressive for college admissions if you are a National Merit Scholar semifinalist or finalist. Only the score that you get from your junior year counts towards the National Merit Scholarship to see if you do qualify. Then lastly, we have the practice ACT. This is a practice for the ACT, and the PSAT was a practice for the SAT. So this is similar to the ACT, except all scores are out of 35 instead of 36. And you can take this practice test in 10th or 11th grade in high school. And this is very good practice for the actual ACT. So some resources for standardized testing and AP exams. First is Khan Academy, which is a great resource. They have a lot of tutorials for various subjects, whether that's AP or SAT. And College Board does work with Khan Academy for their ACT exam. And so Khan Academy does have practice tests for the SAT and also has, personalized study study questions and study resources on Khan Academy. Then we have the official College Board website. And so this provides, practice tests for the PSAT. And, again, they partner with Khan Academy to work on the SAT. And AP exam practices are offered here as well. And so if you ever want to look at past exams, all you have to do is go to that exam on College Board and it shows, the FRQs, the free response questions of previous years. And so this is a very good resource to see examples of what you have to do to score high and also, the rubric. So if you are taking an AP exam, please do go onto College Board to look at the resources offered there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so good evening. I am a senior from North Carolina. My name is Vivana Haval. And if you all are wondering why I'm not on video, I'm on the road right now, and my hotspot decided it's a bit camera shy today, but don't worry, I still got plenty to say, and I hope you guys won't miss anything. So fingers crossed, let's jump right in. So we hear about it all the time, grades are important, right? An A plus is great, it's awesome. But what if I told you it's not just about the letter on your report card, but about how you engage with learning? Think of academics as a way to build your intellectual toolkit. Each subject sharpens a different tool you'll need down the line, be it for college, your career. Oh wait, can you still see my screen?
I think it's frozen.
Oh, that's weird.
Mm, It's on the first slide still.
Oh yeah, okay, wait, is it so it's not on the second. So like you
No.
guys don't see engaged with learning?
No.
Oh, that's really weird.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, we see it now.
okay, if we can just do it like this, I guess. It's fine.
Mhm.
Um, so like okay, yeah. Anyways, so grades are important, right? But it's not about just the grades, but it's about how you engage with learning. So each subject sharpens a different tool you'll need down the line. And you might be thinking, how can I go beyond just getting good grades, right? Here's an example. If you're in biology class, don't stop at just learning for the test. Get curious. When I was studying cell biology, I asked myself, how does this connect to real-world diseases? That curiosity led me to explore cancer cell metabolism, which became a key part of my research. You don't need to be in a lab to do this. Start by looking for YouTube tutorials, online courses, or even TED Talks that dive deeper into what you're learning. Another actionable example would be if you're learning about ecosystems in science class. You could start a mini project tracking how climate change is affecting local wildlife in your area, and you could even present this to your class. This is a simple way to go beyond what's just in your textbook. Overall, just don't chase good grades, chase understanding. When you dive deeper, ask more questions, and make connections across subjects. You're not just learning for a test, you're training your brain to think critically, and that skill is invaluable, especially when you take on higher level projects. So, let me share a little secret. What sets you apart isn't your GPA, it is your passion. The world loves people who can bring their unique skills and interests to the table. Maybe you love coding, or perhaps you're into photography or community service. These are more than just hobbies. They're the seeds of potential passion projects. A passion project is something you could start right away. It's an initiative that shows who you are and what you care about. For me, I've always been passionate about making STEM education accessible. I co-founded a STEM club to teach AI to Title I students. I didn't wait for someone to hand me that opportunity. I created it, and you can too. Let's say you're passionate about art or photography. Don't think that just because it's not related to academics, it doesn't matter. One of my friends combined her love for photography with environmental activism. She started an Instagram account where she posted pictures of plastic pollution in her community, spreading awareness about environmental issues. This caught the attention of a local nonprofit, and they collaborated to organize a cleanup event. Now, her project is not only a portfolio for photography, but a real-world impact project. For example, if you love cooking, you can start a YouTube channel teaching people how to cook affordable meals. And this could turn into a community initiative, helping families eat healthier on a budget. Just think about the problems you see in your community or the world and ask yourself, what can I do about it? Even small steps can turn to something big. And the best part, colleges love seeing this kind of initiative because it proves you're not just a thinker, you're a doer. Now let's talk summer. So for many, summer means taking a well-deserved break, right? Sunshine, the beach, and even more. But what if I told you that summers could be the most transformative time of your high school career? There are countless summer programs out there designed to help you grow, learn, and prepare for college. And many of them are free or offer scholarships. One program I found transformative was the one program that I really loved, which was the Army Outreach Program STEM Apprenticeship. Through this immersive experience, I conducted hands-on research in a professional lab setting, working alongside scientists and engineers on projects that address real world challenges in national defense and innovation. I spent 9 weeks learning about biomedical engineering, and I got to work on a real research project about regenerative medicine. The mentorship I received fostered my critical thinking and problem-solving skills, while exposing myself to cutting-edge technologies which deepened my passion for STEM. This program not only refined my technical skills, but also empowered me to pursue a future in research and innovation. Start. So, for example, you could start by, for example, if those of you are interested in writing, like my friend, she's probably like the best writer I actually know, and that's not even an understatement. And when she went to the Young Writers Workshop, her skills just improved like tenfold, and now she's even, I think, submitting a one of her pieces to one of the New York Times's writing contests. So yeah, that's one really good example of how she's elevating that skill or her passion to the next level. If science is your thing, look into the Garcia Summer Program for STEM research. And if you're into business, the Lead Business Program offers summer courses at top universities. Start by looking for programs aligned with your interests, whether it's a science camp, a research opportunity, or even a leadership summit. These programs can expose you to new ideas, help you make connections, and boost your college applications. For me, summer programs allow me to dive into fields like regenerative medicine and cancer research, experiences that shaped my future goals. The earlier you start searching, the more options you'll find. Don't be afraid to apply, even if you think you won't get in. That's what I struggle with. However, that leap of faith is the first step towards unlocking doors you didn't even know existed. Now, let's talk about activities you're involved in at school. You'll probably heard people say, let's join as many clubs as possible. But here's the catch. It's not about the numbers of clubs you're in, it's about what exactly you do in them. Focus on activities that align with your values, your interests, and your future goals. Whether it's student government, athletics, music, or volunteering, find what lights you up. For me, I co-founded Knots of Support, which is basically a health support club where we make bracelets with uplifting messages for patients. It's not just about showing leadership on paper, it's about doing something meaningful, and this authenticity will shine through in college applications and beyond. My friend was really into robotics, but his school didn't have a robotics club. And instead of waiting for someone else to start it, he took the initiative, rallied a few classmates, and they built their own club. Within just 1 year, they were competing in state competitions. This didn't just show leadership, it showed resourcefulness. When you take charge, you're not just participating, you are creating opportunities for yourself and others. For example, if you're passionate about helping others, you could start a tutoring program in your community. My friend started tutoring elementary kids in math during the pandemic, and now that program is still running strong with more volunteers involved. And speaking of leadership, remember this. You don't need a title to be a leader. You can lead through example, through the passion and commitment you bring to your activities. So, where should you begin? Let me leave you with a few practical steps. First, be proactive. Seek out mentors, ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Teachers, counselors, and even online communities are here to support you. Create opportunities. Don't wait for things to come to you. If you have an idea, whether it's a club, a project, or an event, start it yourself. This initiative is a powerful force. Use your summers wisely. Look for programs, internships, and even volunteer work to help you explore your interests and build skill. And don't forget to apply for scholarships to make these experiences possible. Stay authentic. Your story is yours alone, and don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your path and how you can make the most of your unique strengths and passions. You don't need a massive budget to make the most out of high school. I've had friends who found incredible mentors just by reaching out to professors via email. One of them wanted to learn more about computer science, so she emailed a local university professor who agreed to mentor her through a coding project. And now she's preparing to present her work on a regional science fair. Start small. If you're interested in a subject, find an online course. Many universities like Harvard or Stanford offer free ones or platforms like edX or Coursera. You can also join online communities like, even Reddit or Discord, I know, where people with the same interests share advice and opportunities. At the end, you hold the keys. You are the author of your own story. Every day is a new page, and every decision you make moves you closer to the future you imagine for yourself. Don't wait for someone else to open that door. You already hold the keys. Now go unlock that future that's waiting for you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Vivana. Snigdha, will you go next?
Yeah, I can go next. I was a little confused about the order, I think. Um, but yeah, I could definitely go. So I'm gonna be talking about kind of putting everything full circle, and I will start screen sharing. Um, but yeah, kind of just talking about from a STEM perspective, how you can kind of have a cohesive message when you're applying to college, as that's one of the main things that you definitely want to be communicating. They're admitting you as a person, not just your activities, not just your scores or anything like that. It's something altogether. And so let me know if you can't see my screen, but just assuming everything's good, I have like a little presentation, but most of it I'm just going to be talking about. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or even unmute and just interrupt me. Um, and yeah, so basically I'm talking about this from like a science perspective, but it should apply for anything if you're interested in different things. But considering the fact that this is advertised through Youth STEM, I thought it would be good to just kind of focus from a science fair perspective and talking about how everything can fit into your college application process. I'm a senior here, so I've been working a lot on crafting a narrative, tying together everything. And so I can talk a little bit about my background and to give like kind of an example of maybe how all these tips that I'm trying to talk about kind of fit together and how it might look in practice. And definitely if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. Um, I can put my email in the chat as well. I definitely am more than happy to like answer any questions if they come up. Um, there's my email in the chat. But yeah, I'm like I love to help other people, especially younger kids that might not have the same kind of assistance that I may have had having with my friends and my family to help out as well. So again, like I'm very open. Feel free to reach out with anything. And yeah, I'll just start. So the first thing is making sure that you're having a field of interest. This doesn't really help that much if you're like an upperclassman, but definitely if you are a freshman or sophomore, making sure that you have a narrowed field of interest will really help. The biggest piece of advice, and it's kind of corny, I'm sure you hear in a lot of things, but it really is something that a lot of people overlook, is picking something that you're actually passionate about. If you get stuck in something that you really don't like, you're not going to put your best foot forward, and your work is not going to it's not going to be as reflective as what you're maybe capable of, and you won't be able to tie together a whole story with your application process like this presentation is trying to talk about. And so the main thing to also keep in mind is what mentors are available to guide you and making sure that this is practical. A lot of interests that you might have might not be available at the high school level, or even if you were to try to do like research at like a local university, might not even be accessible at the undergraduate level. So do make sure that it's accessible, it's practical, and you have the mentorship available to actually guide you towards what you're interested in. But most importantly, make sure that it is something that you're interested in. Because if you don't have any passion there, you can't really bring that into a passion project. You can't really connect your other extracurriculars to your research or anything like that. So definitely the field of interest is the first thing that you should be considering and being very careful about deciding. The next thing is making connections to your research or your STEM interests. So with research, which is a very STEM focused thing, obviously, or at least it is in the context that we're talking about it, there is always a social side to it too. You do have to think about it from a humanitarian perspective. What are the societal implications of my project? How would government react to my project? How can I make my project actually helpful to people? You have to be considering all of these things that are on more of the humanities and social side of research that you might not necessarily consider. So for me, for example, I'm very environmentally focused, and that's what my research is focused on too. Mostly environmental science, a lot about like water contamination. And so I've also focused on the social side of this. I've drawn a connection for my research into actual communities. And so I do a lot of environmental volunteering. And one of my biggest things was that I work with literally like a water conservation advocacy organization, which is very connected to the quality of our water, which is exactly what I am focusing on in my research. And so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You want to have one thing, which is the STEM side, but seeing how that connects to other things as well. Now, you might be able to get away with this just purely staying on the STEM side. So maybe if I'm talking about my environmental research, I am maybe focusing on the biology side of it, but then I'm also talking about the chemistry and material side of it. And then maybe I'm even connecting it to like engineering, maybe like civil engineering. There are a lot of ways that I could keep it just on the STEM side, but you do want to show that you're a multidimensional person, that you are able to apply yourself in a variety of different ways. And so for me, the best thing that I went along was connecting it to a social side, like volunteer work, nonprofit work, that kind of thing. But you might be able to connect it to other things. And like I said, you might be able to still stay in STEM, but it's just great if you can actually connect it. Another thing is looking at community applications and partnerships you can have. Just because you're doing research doesn't mean that it actually has any value. You want to make sure that your research actually has some societal implications. It can actually be used to, in effect, to improve the communities that maybe you're around. Again, like just drawing a connection for an example with my own research environmentally, I'm trying to have community applications by also furthering my work on in using like environmental groups and talking to them about how maybe my research could be used. One thing about this is that I was able to get a patent for one of my research projects. And with that patent, I hope to go back to that project to see how can I make this marketable or accessible to people who might actually need my product. That way, it's not just research that I did that I'm going to throw away later, but it's actually research that I can use to help people. And that's also something that college is really going to love. They want to make sure that all these extracurriculars that you're doing in high school, all of these projects that you're doing, you're not just doing it for the sake of getting into college and then you're going to abandon them after. They know a lot of applicants do that. Um, and so it really discounts a lot of the work that you might be doing. But again, going back to fields of interest, if it's something that you're really interested in, you're probably going to want to pursue it later as well. And so you want to show that not only are you doing a project and looking deep into it, you're actually applying it as well. And that's what this slide's kind of about, just applying what you're working on to show that you're truly interested in it and you're actually wanting to use it for good in your community. The next thing I was going to talk about was kind of the concept of the theme. So within your college application process, you're going to have a bunch of different components. The main components can be boiled down into like GPA, classes, and like class rank, that kind of thing. The other thing is test scores, AP scores, and kind of like all those standardized testings. The third thing is your extracurriculars. Your fourth thing is your honors, and then the fifth thing are your essays. Now, it's a little hard to tie in your AP scores and your grades, but you do want to be taking classes that are maybe interesting, um, and related to what you want to major in. So for me, like I talked about environmental science, my school unfortunately does not have AP environmental science, but chemistry is very important for environmental science. And so I made sure that I took AP chemistry. And it was definitely a hard class, big time commitment, but I'm really glad I took the class because a lot of the principles will probably be used as I go into environmental science. And it shows to colleges that I am actually committed to environmental science. And so whatever your interest might be, whatever your focus might be, you want to make sure you are actually taking coursework that's related. But like I said, this part is the least flexible to actually tying it into your theme. You know, you want to be able to do good at all of your classes. I guess in a way, if you had to prioritize a class, you should prioritize the classes that are most related to what you want to major in. But overall, again, you don't have that much flexibility with it. However, your extracurriculars and your honors definitely can tell a story. You might not have a lot of words to work with because there are very low word counts that you're working within. However, you can definitely use it to show a single story. So your activities might be, again, talking in my own experience because that's all I can speak to, but you can apply it in different ways. Um, I'm talking about my research in environmental science. I'm talking about my environmental community work, and those kind of things within my activities. And then my honors are usually in one way or another related to that work, the recognition of maybe my community work or my research work, but in some way it's still showing the narrative that I'm talking about. And then in my essays, the thing is, they can see a lot about you from your application in other parts. The essays are something where you have a lot of flexibility. You can choose what you want to write about. And so I specifically focused on something that wasn't shown that much in my application. And so I am very STEM oriented. However, I also do understand the importance of humanities when I'm talking about actually bringing environmental action in the form of science. And so I kind of focused it more on the humanities side in my essay, just trying to show that although I'm a STEM-focused person, and you can see that in every other part of my application, I also want to show admissions officers a new side of me that they might not be able to pick up from the rest of my application. And so that's also a great opportunity to kind of finish your circle, kind of finish your whole theme, um, showing a different side to it, but again, still making sure that it's related. Um, and research, assuming again that you're interested in youth STEM and these kind of activities, you're probably going to be centering it around research. So definitely see what that topic is and kind of what the related fields are so that you can construct a theme for your college application. Colleges want someone that's very well-rounded. They don't want someone that's like absolutely horrible at English, for example, but amazing at math. They want you to be very well-rounded and a good student that can contribute a lot, especially considering that a lot of colleges you apply with an intended major, but you're not applying directly into the major. You're still undecided when you get to college. So they know that you're not just going to be studying one thing, you are going to be studying everything for a while. And so they need you to be proficient at most, if not all areas. However, what colleges really love is having a spike in one area, showing that you're actually interested in something and are able to contribute to something very significantly when you go on campus. Again, remember, they're not just admitting you, they are admitting an entire class. And by having all these little spikes that they're admitting into the class, they make a very well-rounded class that can address a lot of different issues from like aeronautical engineering to being like a poet. All of these little spikes that are made up in between and past that are all able to contribute to a very diverse class that can really be beneficial to the campus life at whatever college you might be going to. So again, make sure that you remember that they're not just admitting you, they're admitting a lot of people. So you want to be able to stand out and show that you have something unique that you can offer, but making sure that you're not lacking in the other things as well. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about was novelty. And this is, I think, the most important slide. And it's the slide that I think should hopefully resonate with you the most. The first thing is, or I guess before I even go point by point, is that what I mean by novelty is showing that you have something new to offer to a college, something that's unique and maybe not entirely new because let's face it, there aren't that many opportunities you can get at a high school level, but something a little bit more unique. So again, show your passions and show what you can really bring to a college. So the first thing where you can kind of fulfill that novelty aspect is talking about the intersection between fields. Again, everything I've talked about here kind of intertwines with each other, but I'm trying to break them down bit by bit so that you can think about a stage in a stage way. But you want to make sure that whatever field you're talking about the other intersections as well. Again, with environmental science, it's very policy oriented, it's very materials engineering oriented, it's very chemistry oriented. There are a lot of different fields that all intersect with the field that I'm most interested in. And so I've tried to do a little bit of work in each of these fields to show that I understand the intersections and I understand how environmental science in practice actually works. And again, you want to be knowledgeable of the full area. Like I said, environmental science isn't just environmental science. There's also material science, there's also chemistry, there's also environmental policy, there's also government and civics that all go into. And so when I'm constructing my application, I'm trying to show that I understand all of these aspects. I might not be a master at them, I might have a specialty in just one area. However, I have some kind of grasp over all of them and I've tried to get involved. And the point that I really want to hone in on is this last point. And I think this is the most important part of the entire message that I'm trying to say. So if there's just one thing to remember, I think this is a term that I just came up with and I thought might work in this context. It's usually used in other contexts, but hopefully it helps here as well. Is talking about vertical versus horizontal integration. So if you learned about vertical or horizontal integration, other things maybe like econ or human geography or whatever, vertical integration is usually, or let's talk about horizontal integration first, because that's the one that we don't really want here. So horizontal integration basically means that like if we're just talking about like the business of cookies, for example, horizontal integration means that you own every company that sells cookies, which is great. It shows that you have a monopoly over cookies. You're very good at selling cookies. However, when we're talking about colleges here, they want to make sure, like I said before, that you're knowledgeable about different areas and you know the intersections. So you don't want to only be good at selling the cookies. You also want to show that you're good at producing the wheat, at producing the sugar. You're good at mixing the ingredients together. You're good at the marketing. You're good at the distribution part. You're able to actually transport your goods to the customers that want it. Vertical integration means that instead of owning a bunch of one type of company, you own all of the different companies that go into the production of one good. So you have the producer, you have the actual person who processes everything, you have the person who's distributing it and marketing it. So all these little steps in the production of one good, you want to have mastered all of those things because that shows actual proficiency in the topic that you're talking about. So, like I said again, so in the realm of cookies, that would mean that you know about the wheat, you know about the sugar, you know about mixing, you know about cooking, you know about actually selling, you know about marketing, and you know about transporting the good. All of these little things that go into just one thing, you are knowledgeable about. Because that means a lot more to colleges than just knowing you know how to sell cookies from this vendor and you also know how to sell cookies from that vendor. Those two different opportunities, they don't mean that much. They don't differ that much from each other. And so what I talked about with vertical integration is a lot more meaningful. And so again, one more example, because this might be a bit abstract to think about, I can talk about my work. So environmental science, I have done quite a lot of lab experience with it. I've done one lab internship, I've done another lab internship. Let's say I've done like 5 lab internships, which isn't true, but like let's say if I did. I could list all 5 of those and talk about those for my college application. Or let's exaggerate it even more. There's 10 slots for activities. Let's say 8 of those I just talk about different research experiences. That means that maybe I'm really good at research. But does that mean that I'm really good at environmental science? Probably not. And so a better split would be to talk maybe about like 3 environmental science lab work activities that I did, maybe because that's just my focus. But then I also talk about some environmental activism I did. And I also talk about some material science that I learned about. And I also talk about an engineering project that I did. And I also talk about like some time that I worked in the government, which sounds like a lot, but these are all just examples. But like maybe I worked in the government and I worked on some environmental policy. All these little things, that's vertical integration, showing that I was understanding all these little things that all go into producing one product, which is, I guess, environmental science in this case. This means a lot more than just having 10 lab experiences listed. That doesn't show a lot of diversity. It doesn't show a lot of depth of thinking. And it shows a lot more when you're able to show knowledge of multiple different areas that all go into the same field that you're interested in. And so that's the last slide I wanted to talk about. I think that's the most important thing to really understand as you're going into the college application process and trying to craft your activities and making sure that you're pursuing your interests in the best way possible to also make sure that you're going to a college where you can pursue those interests as much as you want as well. And so that's pretty much it to my presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now, or I put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out. But yeah, I hope the presentation was helpful.
Okay, thank you so much. So I want to thank all our speakers and Joanna for sharing their experience and also their advice. So thank you everyone for attending the webinar. I have recorded it and it will be on our Youth STEM's YouTube channel. If you would like to find more resources, get involved in Youth STEM, or contact any of the speakers or those on our team, please go to youthstem.org and you'll find our email and information there. So thank you for coming, and I'll see you later.